All right, let's go to the phones. You calling from a 530 area code. Who's this?
My name is Matt. I do live in New York City, though.
Okay, there you go. Brad from New York City.
Yeah. So I follow you on YouTube. I don't actually generally listen to your show online, but I am a libertarian, about as radical libertarian as you can get. And I saw your renewed challenge to libertarians the other day on YouTube and thought I would take up the call.
Great. So now I have a lot of libertarians call in. They all claim that they're a real libertarian and other people are not real libertarians. And for me, what I find most distressing about libertarian ideology is the economics of it. And so give me a sense of what how you would reform our society from an economic standpoint.
Well, from an economic standpoint, I would try and move for very clearly defined and enforced property rights. But on this issue of economics, I was actually wondering, what is your perception of libertarian economics? Because I'm not, from the people that you've talked to previously and people that you've criticized on your show, I'm not sure I really understand what you're even talking about.
Well, my sense is that they want property rights über alles. They want less government regulation. They feel that that government is shackling business, that if everybody pursues their own self-interest, then society functions much better. And I disagree with all of those premises. Now, maybe that is a wrong interpretation of what your brand of economic economic libertarianism is, but have I got it right?
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, there's other things I would add in there, but
what else would you add?
What's that?
What else would you add?
I would talk about getting rid of government involvement in the issuance of credit and money. Things along those lines. But what I'm really kind of baffled about is that what you just described to me really is not anything that is particular to libertarian economics. That is pretty mainstream stuff. And most economists, if you were to put them together and have them argue about something, yeah, you would see differences in where and marginal differences in things that they believe. And those marginal differences can be important, but on the main thrust of economic theory in terms of development, the minimum wage, things like that, economists actually have a pretty striking consensus on that.
What is the striking consensus on minimum wage?
I'm sorry, my reception's not that great. Can you repeat that?
What is the striking consensus on minimum wage?
That most economists tend to be moderate Democrats who are people who oppose the minimum wage, would like to see taxes lowered, and also want to see better international trade, freer international trade.
I don't know who you're talking about, but I don't know that
you have is that you
first of all,
a couple of days ago,
hold on for a second.
Glacius.
Can you hear me?
What's that?
Can you hear me? Hold on for a second. Okay. First off, I don't think that most economists identify themselves as Democrats or not. I mean, we're talking about economics. We're not talking about politics. I mean, in terms of partisan politics, we're talking about economics. Now, I don't know that most economists believe anything of what you just said. I think my sense is that most economists know when it comes to the minimum wage, know about monopsony, which is essentially that, or for instance, okay, let's just look at this. Economies, HuffPost Business, February of 2013, economists say raising the minimum wage is worth it. Poll. A majority of economists said the benefits to low-wage workers raising the minimum wage outweigh the possible negatives, which include potentially making it harder for low-wage workers to find jobs, according to a recent poll from the University of Chicago's IGM Forum. Does that blow your mind?
No, that really didn't blow my mind.
Oh, okay.
No, because if you look at published studies, things like surveys of the Americans, excuse me, one second, let me pull this up. Survey of Americans and Economists on the economy, things that have been looked at extensively by writers like Brian Kaplan, you really do see that there is far more of a consensus on these issues than you would imagine. And
well, yes, particularly since I'm looking at particularly since I'm looking at a study right now that contradicts that.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I would be. It would surprise me more than I imagine because I'm looking at a study right now out of the University of Chicago of some of the most prominent economists in the country.
Okay, so that's a study I haven't looked at. That's
all right. Fair enough. So let's just say
can I continue what I've been trying to say?
Sure. Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Really, though, what this comes down to is there is a lot of consensus between most economists, even people like Paul Krugman, who I consider pretty much the devil in terms of public policy. He tends to have very, very good views on things like abolishing rent controls and international trade. Especially, he's very, very in favor of far more freedom.
What does that mean?
Restrictions.
What does far more freedom mean in terms of trade? What does that mean? I mean, tell me like what that actually means, because I don't know what far more freedom in trade means. Are you saying no tariffs? What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm saying like lower tariffs, fewer import and export restrictions, actually being able to.
What do you mean by
trade
fewer
with other
import and
countries.
export restrictions?
Our country has a number of embargoes out right now.
Wait a second.
I'm sorry, you broke up one more time. I really do apologize.
I mean, you're conflating a lot of different things here. We have embargoes with Cuba and Iran. I certainly don't think we should be embargoing Cuba, and I'm not even sure that our embargo works with Iran. But let's put that aside. That's not a free trade issue. Maybe it is to you.
An embargo isn't a free trade issue?
Well, it's more of a foreign policy, national security issue. But I agree with you. Let's stipulate that in the main, I think embargoes don't work for their foreign policy aims and whatnot. But I mean, I don't think most economists would perceive that as being, a point of trying to help trade. But I'll stipulate that. Fine. Okay. So tariffs are fairly low in this country for imports, as far as I know. Now, yes, it would be nice, I guess, if we had more access to Chinese markets, but we can't control that. And really, the issue when it comes to trade, I mean, NAFTA and GATT, and certainly from what I've heard of the TPP, are going to essentially allow for countries to have no sovereignty in terms of what kind of labor restrictions, what kind of environmental restrictions they will impose in their own country. In fact, NAFTA, which you must actually be very excited about this, we have American companies who have sued the Canadian government because of their environmental regulations. We have American companies that have sued Mexico for attempting to institute environmental regulations that impinge upon their ability to do business. So in your mind, that's a good thing. Is that what you're saying?
No, this is not what I'm saying at all.
All right. Well, tell me what you're saying, because you say
I think that is
no tariffs. Okay.
Well, you see, no. Okay, just let me talk for 1 second. Is that every time that I try to say what I'm saying, you cut me off. I can hear you speaking over me, and then I have to ask you what you said because my phone is a piece of crap. But are you going to let me speak?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. What I've been trying to say this entire time is I think that you have a very skewed view of economics, even just general economics, like neoclassical or even Keynesian theory. Because I remember actually maybe it was a week or so ago, you attacked Matt Yglesias over statements he made about the regulations in Bangladesh, as if Matt Yglesias was some kind of libertarian capitalist free market defender. Now, while he does have some more free market views than other liberals, he is still very much a liberal, a very progressive thinker. And I was just shocked that you conflated his views as something as like that was like libertarian fanaticism.
Well, I don't know what I don't know exactly what the point of what that soliloquy was. I mean, I gave you the chance to speak. Matt Iglesias retracted his position there after not because of my criticism, but he retracted it in a subsequent piece, which I'm sure you read. But what difference does it make? What difference does that possibly make? Make your point about trade. Say something of substance.
Oh my God, I didn't call in to talk specifically about trade. You asked me about trade as I've been trying
What
to
do you want to talk
time.
about specifically? That I criticize Matt Iglesias?
No, what I want to talk about specifically is that I don't think that you have, in general, a grasp whatsoever on economic theory. Because all of those things that you named to me as being the libertarian economics about self-interest and private property rights, those are things that are just standard things that economists, from a policy perspective, are in favor of.
Well, you're wrong. You're wrong about that. But I mean, you claim to me that all economists say, or most economists say, the minimum wage is bad.
All economists. I said that many economists, most economists, there is a large consensus that things like the minimum wage tend to be ineffective, bad things. I'm not making blanket statements.
Okay. All right. Is there anything specifically you want to talk about, other than the fact that I, according to you, don't know the consensus of most economists? Let's talk about specific ideas. Was that all you want to tell me? Is that I am wrong in my perception of what most economists think or something? So say something specific.
Well, I think this is kind of telling. I mean, this is the thing. If you don't have even a general baseline knowledge of economic theory, I don't think it is responsible for you to be making policy statements that directly are related to those subjects.
And so
that's totally
Are you
dangerous.
calling me now from your office at the Economic Institute of whatever it is, or where?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Are you an economist?
Am I an economist? No, but I have studied economics on my own.
Okay. So we're even.
Yeah, I do know how to read, and I do read quite a bit.
I don't doubt that at all. I'm sure you know how to read. Now, listen, is there any specific point, other than now that I don't know the perspective of the majority of economists, and that it's irresponsible for me to talk about economics if I don't know the consensus of most economists according to you? Is there anything specific you want to talk about?
No, this is not according to me. All of those things, like I said, that you brought up are things that are just a part of the general body of accepted economic doctrine. That is something that you will hear in any microeconomics course taught at any university.
Are you telling me?
These are things that you've specifically contested, and you've specifically contested them many times. Like in regards to that part on Bangladesh, you made an issue about, it was actually, I think it was something, you were reading something that someone had said about rational choice models of economics and how they're totally unrealistic in this world. And, I mean, it was clear from what you said that there is no understanding of what is meant even by rational choice or rational expectations.
Why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us? I'm giving you
Why
an
don't I tell
opportunity
you?
to speak,
Okay.
and
There's
teach me.
usually an assumption about rational choice models that rational behavior implies that people are always making correct decisions, or that they have some kind of perfect knowledge, which is obviously not true. And rational choice, what that actually means is that people have goals and use means to attain those goals. It doesn't mean that their goals are even goals that they should be pursuing. It doesn't mean that the means that they're using are going to attain them. But from that fact, you then, that's the basis of a lot of economic theory. That tells you about marginal utility. You know what? I'm not going to give you it. This is stupid.
Actually,
This is
sorry.
stupid. I'm not talking
This
to
is
you.
Michael
This is a
here. I'm one of the
complete
producers.
waste
I'm
of
cutting
time.
in. I'm quitting. You just blew my mind. I can no longer produce this show. This is disgusting. What Sam
is
has
a
been
All right,
pulling
complete
on the
waste of
American
time.
public.
so you're just calling in to tell me that. Let me just get this straight. You're just calling in to tell me that I'm irresponsible in what I talk about with economics.
Well, yeah, that was actually part of my main point. But you've asked me so many questions over the course of this that I've lost completely why I even called.
Yes, believe me.
We never even got to any topic. Like,
yeah.
libertarians usually call in and we take a topic and we discuss the one issue. They tell their side, Sam tells theirs. But all we've gotten from this is basically Sam doesn't know economics, but we're not going to discuss anything specifically.
I feel like we have much more efficient libertarians who call in and just say you're a poopy head, and that's it, because that's basically what you're saying.
I would never call you a poopy head.
Well, you could have saved us all a lot of time. But
What do you
I mean,
think
listen,
about Sam's
listen. Here's
parenting
the
skills?
Listen. Here's the point. Call in, and if there's something specific, I mean, I don't remember when I mentioned, something from 3 or 4 weeks ago. Call in if there's a specific topic you want to talk about. If you want to debate with me next time about the minimum wage, let's do that. Okay? But by saying to me that the majority or the consensus of economists is that the minimum wage is ineffective, I'm not even sure ineffective at what you're talking about. But then I say to you, I'm looking at a study that is sitting here from poll results from the IGM forum, okay, that shows that, in fact, that's not the case. And you say, well, I've got other studies. That's fine. But we're not getting anywhere with that. So, and all we're talking about is what the consensus of economists say. You know, the consensus of economists apparently was that Reinhardt and Rogoff were right in their assessment that that debt hurts growth. And the fact of the matter is, we now know that's not even the case. Even their own study was debunked. So, look, I'm just not even interested in that, call in with something specific so that we can actually have a conversation. But you're just going around in circles.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Do you want to discuss the minimum wage? Because I will.
All right, but not now. Call back next week. We'll do it then. Appreciate the phone call.
All right. Hugs and kisses.
All right. Wow, that was really
just
a
so
lot of dead
bizarre.
air. I almost feel like I should apologize to people for that.
That was an unregulated train wreck.
That was.
I'm sorry. I had to do that.